Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of JournaTime. According to the report of World Heart Federation, cardiovascular disease, commonly referred to as heart disease or stroke, are the number one cause of death around the world. Non-communicable disease, including CVDs, are estimated to account for 60% of total adult deaths in India. According to Accidental Deaths and Suicides in India 2019 report by the National Crime Records Bureau, 4,534 sudden deaths caused by heart disease were recorded in the country in 2018, having a 11.3 share in all accidental deaths other than natural calamities. It rose 4,700 to 95 in 2019, having 11.5% share. In this backdrop, panelists from Adamas University, Ms. Swayambrita Basu, Ms. Subhashree Barman, and Ms. Shrijeeta Media School are going to discuss the causes for high number of heart attacks in the country for JournaTime and remedies to counter it. My first question goes to Ms. Subhashree. I would like to ask Ms. Subhashree that what, according to you, are the reasons for high number of heart attacks incident in the country?
I think youngsters falling a victim to increased heart disease, stroke, and cardiovascular risk isn't because of any single factor, but due to a combined impact of various reasons. Among the most prominent factors are the rising cases of diabetes mellitus, high cholesterol due to increased obesity, hypertension, increased consumption of processed foods, and less physical activity. Added to these, work-related stress and increased screen timings have significantly contributed to heart problems. It has been found out that in the recent years, young patients with heart attacks are at a similar risk of dying as compared to their older counterparts. Another equally responsible factor is smoking and consumption of narcotic substances such as cocaine and weed. These substances cause a sudden constriction of coronary arteries that impedes the blood flow to the heart, resulting in a heart attack. Deaths due to heart attacks have increased by 53% in 5 years, as recorded by the National Crime Records Bureau. It has been significantly increasing since 2014. A total of 18,309 people died due to heart attack in 2014. The numbers kept on increasing year after year until it reached up to 28,005 lives in 2019. The principal director of cardiac sciences at Max Hospital, Delhi, stated that the mortality data shows a total of 33% adult Indians died due to heart attacks, and the principal driver are conditions such as diabetes, blood pressure, smoking, and unhealthy lifestyle. The annual number of deaths in 2020 had reached to 4.77 million, with 1.6% to 7.4% in rural populations and 1% to 13.2% in urban populations. However, heart diseases affect men and women differently. They are more common in men than in women, as men are twice more likely to have a heart attack than women. The simple reason is that when a woman is stressed, her pulse rate rises and her heart pumps more blood. But when a man is stressed, the arteries of his heart constrict, raising his blood pressure. Being physically fit does not mean one is mentally healthy. Mental health is as important as physical health that people tend to overlook. These are basically the reasons and statistics of the increasing heart attack rate in youngsters of India. Thank you.
My next question goes to Ms. Swayambrita. Does healthy eating and exercise suffice to avoid heart attacks, or do genetic predispositions play a role?
It is a scientifically proven fact that leading a healthy lifestyle can lower the risk of developing a chronic disease such as heart attack. However, given the growing numbers of young cardiac patients, it would be safe to say that eating healthy or exercises alone are not the sole factors that prevents heart attacks. Dr. Sudhir Pillai, a consultant in cardiology with PG Hinduja Hospital, Mumbai, said in an interview with Times of India that a considerable section of the Indian population has genetically predisposed health conditions that leads to the cardiovascular diseases. Also, Studies have shown that the genetic formation in our Asian genes have made us more vulnerable to cardiac disorders when compared to our Western counterparts. According to the Indian Heart Association, cardiac diseases hits Indians at a much earlier age than people of other demographic origin. The statistics provided by the Indian Heart Association also shows that 25% of all heart attacks in Indian men occur under 40 years of age. And in addition, Indian women have high mortality rates from cardiac diseases as well. Studies have shown that Indians have a tendency to get heart diseases at least 10 years prior to the people in the West. Another reason, according to Dr. Kadir Sahib Ashraf, who is a senior interventional cardiologist, Apollo Hospitals, Tiruchi, said in an interview that Indians have smaller blood vessels or coronary arteries than people in the West. However, coming back to the genetic transmission of cardiovascular diseases, according to Dr. Pillai, it is primarily transmitted through the father's side of the genes rather than the mother's. In addition to this, it is observed that this genetic transmission impacts the offspring roughly about 5 to 10 years before it affected their parents in the previous generation. Therefore, once the genetic pattern sets in, there is not much scope for prevention, but the mitigation of the risk factors is still a viable option, and eating a healthy diet combined with regular exercise can definitely reduce the risk of heart attacks. Thank you.
My next question goes to Ms. Shrijeeta. What are the steps we can take to prevent the risk of heart attacks in the younger generation?
Even though hereditary factors also come into play when it comes to health issues and particularly heart attacks, they can be prevented with precautions and care. As Swayambrita mentioned, mindfulness is what we need to combat heart attacks in youngsters. Like we have discussed, nutrition plays a really important role in the health of youngsters, and like we observed from the earlier discussion, eating habits of the youngsters in this fast-paced era has changed. Our youngsters are more reliant on processed and junk food. That needs to be regulated. A balanced diet is needed to prevent the early signs of heart problems and attacks. And we need to make sure more vegetables, fruits are included. And we need to pay attention to the proteins and cut down junk and processed food as much as we can. Lifestyle is extremely strenuous these days, and owing to the recent circumstances, exercise and physical activity has significantly dropped amongst the young lot. Obesity is one of the leading causes of heart attacks, and not having a proper diet and exercise can make our young generation extremely vulnerable to the heart problems and attacks. Having a steady exercise routine can keep our youngsters healthy. However, it is also important to take breaks in between. Staying active is highly important. A brisk and casual walk, an early morning jog, or just a fun aerobic session can not only help the youngsters beat the stress but also keep heart attacks at bay. It is also important to have a good sleeping habit. The sleep cycle should not be disrupted. A young adult needs up to 6 to 8 hours of sleep every day. Denying your body the rest it needs can lead to serious health issues and increase the risk of heart attacks. We often take our sleep and rest for granted. That should be avoided at all costs. In order to have a healthy heart and reduce the risk of heart attacks, it is also essential to reduce and quit smoking and drinking altogether, or any kind of substance abuse for that matter. Do not expose yourself to secondhand smoke either. Proper steps should be taken to handle stress and tension, as these elements can not only impact our mental health, but they can severely complicate our cardiovascular system, like Subhashree discussed. These are the few steps we can take and ensure our youngsters have a healthy heart and lifestyle. Thank you.
I would like to ask Ms. Swayambrita, how much of a role does stress and mental health play when we speak of heart attacks?
Cardiovascular diseases are often linked to stress and anxiety. There is evidence that suggests that high cortisol levels from long term makes a person more prone to high blood cholesterol, triglycerides, blood sugar, and the increase the risk of hypertension. These are some of the common risk factors for cardiac diseases as per experts. Young people have infinite reasons to feel stressful, such as performance stress, stress associated with urbanization, lifestyle, which most of the time leads to smoking, drinking, unhealthy eating habits, and patterns. This in turn causes stress on the heart, leading to either heart attack, cardiac arrest, or arrhythmia. Stress management, such as yoga, is good for the well being of both physical and mental health. Negative psychological health or mental health makes one subjected to an increased risk of heart disease and stroke, but positive psychological health, on the other hand, lowers the risk of heart disease and death. There are substantial data concerning the role of stressors in diverse pathophysiological changes. Therefore, it is evident that stressors trigger events. However, there are some researchers that do not favor medicines used to treat mental health disorders on cardiometabolic disease risk. Various antipsychotic medications have been affiliated with obesity, insulin resistance, diabetes, stroke, atrial fibrillation, and of course, heart attacks. Weightlifting can cause muscle and joint damages, which can be often permanent and fatal, such as spinal injuries like herniated discs. Extreme conditions can also tear a heart artery, which could lead to death. It is recommended by the National Academy of Sports Medicine of USA to rest their muscle groups for at least 24 hours before resuming working on them. Nonetheless, there is a compelling amount of evidence for both detrimental effects of stress and bad mental health on the heart, and for the fact that vulnerability and resilience factors play a role in augmenting or dampening those effects. An ample number of approaches for stress management are available that can decrease patient suffering and enhance their quality of life. Thank you.
My next question goes to Ms. Subhashree. Going forwards with what Swayambrita said, Subhashree, what do you think now that young people are taking more care about their fitness nowadays? They are exercising regularly in the gym and also following healthy diets. Despite having such good fitness regime, what are they being victims of heart attacks? Is it busting the myth that seemingly fit people are also an equal risk to cardiovascular disease?
The increase in seemingly slim and fit people having heart attacks are dramatically on the rise. Experts have stated these to be caused due to poor lifestyle choices such as a bad diet and also over-exercising. Despite regular exercises at the gym, maintaining a good shape and having zero health risk factors, the heart attack rate in youngsters have seemingly risen. Excessive stress due to over-exercising also contributes to the risk. Too much exercise can be bad for one's health. Research found evidence that high intensity of exercise and excessive weight lifting can acutely increase the risk for sudden cardiac arrest or sudden cardiac death in individuals with underlying cardiac disease. I would take up a very recent but relevant example of a young and fit man passing away due to a sudden fatal cardiac arrest at a mere age of 40. I'm talking about Siddharth Shukla. We all know him and how well built he was. However, his death has proven that being fit does not always mean being healthy. Stress and ignorance of warning signs, including the other lifestyle factors, have been pointed out as reasons. Actor Amit Mistry and filmmaker Raj Kaushal have also passed away this year due to similar cardiac arrest at the age of 47 and 49 respectively. These deaths are examples of how the myth of slim and fit people being safe from cardiovascular diseases have been busted.
From this discussion, we get to know the reason behind increasing the heart attack between young generation and what are the steps we should take to prevent the heart attacks. Thank you everyone for joining to this session. I am ending this session here. Hope you guys like it. If you like, then please Like, share, and subscribe to our channel to get more update about our latest videos. And please check our blog site Journal Post. Thank you.